Hello and thanks for tuning in. I'm Holly Shields, welcoming you all to another edition of Kalkine TV's Executive Corner Expert Talks. Now, we know that when it comes to business efficiency and resource optimization, prioritization of tasks is crucial, and hassle-free project delivery becomes even more imperative in the remote working environment. So to help us understand this area a bit better, we have a very special guest on today's show to share his insights. Tim Davies is the CEO of Projekt, a pioneer company that's created an AI-driven automation platform to assist companies in overcoming project-related failure. Welcome to the show, Tim. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you on. Now, first of all, I'd love to ask you, could you share with us a bit about your thoughts on the significance of hassle-free project delivery for the smooth functioning of a business?
Sure. I think everything is a project. And so the majority of projects fail. They're over budget, they're delivered late, or they're not to scope. So getting into hassle-free delivery means reducing these failures so that businesses can deliver more at a lower cost, increasing revenues, and then ultimately impacting their bottom line. Hassle-free project delivery drives business growth, and any company that isn't growing in the current challenging times is dying.
Very well said there. What sort of challenges have you noticed in recent times when it comes to project delivery?
I think projects are always difficult. You have problems with motivations of teams, but as soon as we've moved into generally a heavily remote environment, companies have struggled to adopt. Where they've had teams where they've been able to get them together for meetings, they've been able to chase people down in the corridors, find out what the latest status is. If you're then working remote, seeing the color of people's eyes is easy, but actually reading emotions over virtual connections can be challenging. So understanding the latest status on a project, keeping stakeholders accurately informed, and ensuring that problems are managed quickly becomes challenging.
I think you're quite right there, especially when that element of real human contact is removed. There's certainly a lot of unforeseen challenges that can arise when it comes to working in a team, I imagine.
Absolutely. And I think motivation is the key driver there. If you've got a high-performing team, then whether they're remote or not doesn't matter. But if you've got elements where you don't have that drive within individuals, then ultimately you don't know what they're doing with their time.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's very fair to say there. I understand as well, you've got an AI-driven automation platform, which is really excellent to hear. Could you maybe shed some light for us on that and how it benefits your clientele?
Sure. So we looked through our experiences in delivering projects with Six Sigma, delivering projects with global remote teams, and ultimately delivering thousands of projects. What those experiences of project delivery could mean for redefining how projects are delivered. So we broke down the smallest elements of what a project manager does on a day-to-day basis and converted them into logic or machine learning experiments and effectively responses so that we could pass in information and get an understanding of what a project was actually doing without having a project manager overseeing it. So effectively, the role of a project manager was broken down into hundreds of little assessments, questions, which are then answered programmatically, which when pulled back together gives the ability for, at the moment, relatively basic projects to be run without a project manager. And obviously the benefit that that gives our customers is without having to wait for a project manager who's working 9 to 5 in one time zone, we can have a team that are working fully remote, fully global, and transitioning activities between them at any time of night or day. And understanding of the project's latest status is always known. So we reduce the risk of failures, reduce time to deliver. And because we're able to use a global team, ultimately we reduce the cost to the customer. And in terms of our benefits, it means that we can focus on what are the core things we need within our organization, making sure that customer success and interaction is perfect, trusting that projects are being delivered well.
That's great to hear. I mean, it sounds incredibly beneficial, especially on that efficiency factor. It seems like that's where that fast collation of data really comes in handy.
I think so. I think ultimately projects generally don't have transparency in their communication. It's very difficult for the senior stakeholders to understand what's going on the ground every day. And our system helps pull all of that information together and make sure the right people know at the right time.
That's really good to hear. It's definitely something that's, I can imagine, very useful, as you just said. In your opinion as well, though, how should businesses prioritize their activities better and fine-tune their focuses? Is there any advice you have in that area?
I think businesses should focus on their core expertise. If you look at a business, there's very few even global organizations that have truly world-class marketing, truly world-class technology development teams. So companies should focus on what they're best at, and anything that's outside of that, there is opportunity to outsource. And as soon as you're considering outsourcing, obviously there's lots of different paths. There's the offshoring, traditional, putting it out to parts of the world where labor is traditionally cheap. There are agencies that you can offload to who will deliver your marketing strategy, your marketing collateral, for example. And you can go direct to talent. You can use freelancer platforms to engage with individuals wherever they are in the world and have those individuals deliver work for you. All of them have benefits, all of them have challenges. But I think once you've understood what your core expertise as a business is and all of the other activities that you need to achieve, it's then just working out what's the right fit for your business in terms of how you deliver those individual outsourced elements. Ultimately, I'm a huge champion of direct to talent. I think the global freelancer model is fantastic. My experiences at Upwork were revelationary to me. We saw the benefits of working with people all over the world. You can access experts wherever they are, but finding the right people is challenging. It's like a needle in a haystack. There are so many people offering so many skills, and finding that right gem, once you've found them, brilliant. But getting to that point where you have somebody who is known, trusted, and delivers great work is a challenge. So I'd recommend using a company that can find and manage those talent for you so that you just focus on receiving the output and using that project delivery. Obviously, that's a service that we offer, but there are other companies who specialize in managing freelance teams. And so anybody that can find the right people and match them for you will be beneficial. If they've also got the ability to make those projects happen smoothly, then fantastic.
I think very well said there. It's definitely a fact that that businesses ought to really focus on what they do best and leave the expertise when it's required to other experts that they can find in freelancer roles, which is obviously offers them an abundance of options when it comes to sourcing skills.
Nearly infinite.
Yeah, I can imagine. And in your view, what defines a successful project delivery? And how would you say that Projekt Rising helps brands achieve that?
Well, the traditional response, or to simply put it, it's on time, on budget, to scope. But actually, does to budget make enough sense? Because if you're used to delivering work with an external provider, that budget that you're paying might be significant. And by going direct to talent, you have the ability to significantly reduce those costs. So in times when everybody's concerned about their bottom line and growing their business, looking at how you can optimize your cost within a business and using the right resources in the right place can be hugely beneficial. So finding and managing global talent, as I've already said, is the key challenge. And I think it's a huge benefit for a business. Ultimately, if you can get something that's on time, to the right budget, and meets your scope, then that's fantastic. And our solution enables that by pairing global freelance talent with our AI automation platform to ensure that the projects are successful every time.
Excellent. It's glad to hear that you definitely still stick to that crucial core structure there, that they are in fact on budget and on time, and that's very clearly your end goal.
Absolutely, has to be. That is project success.
Can't argue there. And we did touch on before about the emergence of remote work, working from home, and remote teams. Are there any particular ways you would suggest that these remote teams, which often involve freelancers, can develop trust and transparency and overall healthy relationships?
We've been fully remote since we launched 5 years ago, and prior to that, I've been fully remote since the beginning of 2013. And I think managing with global freelance or any remote team is challenging. The way that we work on a team basis is generally the start of most meetings, we will have social interaction, and we kind of strongly encourage that interaction because people, if they're sat at home, they're on their own, they need the opportunity to share what's been going on in their day or what the latest challenge is or what they've just seen blowing past the window if there's a storm. So having the opportunity to have that social interaction at the beginning of a meeting encourages that team experience. Everybody understands each other a bit better. And so we strongly encourage that. The biggest driver is having high-performing teams. If you're choosing people who are driven for success, who are absolutely bought into the objective of that project, the team, the vision of the company, then working remote isn't a challenge, it's actually an enabler. because people deliver more when they're not distracted by the office chit chat, by the commute. They've got more time. We can allow them to be flexible with their time. So it doesn't matter if they take the dog out for the walk, they collect the kids from school and go out to the shops. As long as they're able to deliver what's needed during their day and the targets are met, we can be completely flexible. And so I think remote work actually enables a higher level of performance when you already have a trusted team. But building that trust takes time. You have to start small on something that is relatively short duration, very easy to measure, and make sure that the individuals are capable of delivering that. And so quite often on a project for a customer, we may run two resources, delivery resource that we know is going to deliver the output that we want, and another one on a small part of that deliverable just to test their capability. Because if we can then compare the output of both resources, we can see whether that resource that we've tested would be suitable for a higher level project in the future.
That's interesting. It's, there obviously sounds like quite a science to it, as you just explained. But I have to agree with you there that there is, I think, some very key, simple facts that you can use to build trust when it comes to these remote teams. And of course, there is the undoubted benefit of increased productivity and performance. Many benefits there, seen and unseen, I think, under the surface. So it's just a very clear win-win situation, I imagine.
I think so, but I think it comes down to transparency. You have to be completely transparent, almost brutal honesty, but with a human touch. So sharing, yes, I'm going out to pick up the kids now. I've got to do this. I've got to go and visit my gran. As long as people understand exactly what the situation is, then there's no cause for doubt. You don't have to worry about when person X is delivering. They've said they're going to do what they said by this time. They've shared that they're not going to be available in this time period because of that. That's fine. And I think that open and honest communication, it drives mutual trust.
I completely agree there. Communication and transparency, as you mentioned, is so crucial. And I can imagine to a team as well, that would be an absolutely important, very imperative factor as well. But thanks very much for sharing your insights today, Tim. It's been really great to have you on Executive Corner Expert Talks.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure to have you on. Thanks for your time as well, viewers. If you've just joined us, that was Tim Davies, the CEO of Projekt Rising. As we say here, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.